Monster Hunter Tri is one of the greatest Monster Hunter games of all time, and this game is what led to the success of the Monster Hunter series we have today. The definition of retrospective is simply looking back on or dealing with past events or situations. The reason I'm stating this is because many great content creators' sole focus is retrospectives. They do an amazing job and cover 95%, if not everything, about one of their favorite games. Monster Hunter Tri is one of my favorite games of all time, and I truly feel this game is a work of art. This is a game that somehow took a step back on content while also taking a step forward for new innovations into the series, making a truly unique and beautiful balance. This game deserves to be a prime example of how sometimes more isn't always best. In fact, this game took away half of its weapons and monsters but solidified what it did have to offer with the utmost quality in innovations and design. What this game brought to the series was truly remarkable despite the clashing opinions of today's Monster Hunter fans. Many argue that a large portion of the fanbase asking for this game's underwater combat to return say it's due to nostalgia. It is true that I have a lot of nostalgia for this game specifically. However, out of respect for the Monster Hunter series, out of respect for this game, and out of respect and love for the friends I made along my journey 10 years ago in this game, I will not let nostalgia cloud my judgment. Therefore, I have revisited this game almost in its entirety, and I feel I have a great understanding of why this game is so awesome and why it did give me that nostalgia for years. In this video, we're going to uncover why this game deserves more praise and how this game developed a larger audience outside of Japan and how it helped grow the series. Without much more to say for now, join me as we take a dive into the past of Monster Hunter. This is Monster Hunter Tri. In an interview conducted in 2017, director Kaname Fujioka expressed a desire to incorporate underwater combat and water-based sections into Monster Hunter. This was mainly motivated by their intention to explore new avenues that had not been explored in the series before. Despite the later deemed successful inclusion of these features in Tri, Fujioka admitted that the programming required for their implementation was excessively time-consuming, which detracted from the development of other game aspects. Unfortunately, this would mean we wouldn't see underwater combat return to the series. At least for now, as Fujioka has expressed optimism that they may revisit this feature in future iterations of the game. It has been 6 years since that interview after all. Who knows, maybe we'll get it for the next one. One of the main goals of the development team was to create a Monster Hunter game that could appeal to both existing fans of the series and new players. To achieve this, the team focused on improving the game's accessibility and streamlining some of its mechanics, while also retaining the core gameplay elements that had made the series popular in the first place. Another key aspect of the development process was the game's online play, and the development team worked hard to ensure that the online experience was as smooth and seamless as possible. And to my memory, it was pretty good for being on the Wii. The game's graphics were also a major focus of the development process. The team wanted to create a visually impressive game that could showcase the capabilities of the Wii. To achieve this, they used a new graphics engine specifically for the game, which allowed for highly detailed character models, environments, and monsters. The graphics were the best we had ever seen for Monster Hunter at the time, and I gotta say, they still hold up to this day. Now, Monster Hunter going from the PSP to the Wii was a very strange decision in the eyes of myself and many fans at the time. Don't get me wrong, I loved my Nintendo Wii. I was excited so much to have a Monster Hunter on a console. All I had ever known was Monster Hunter on the PSP though. Capcom was asked about this decision a couple times, and there are a couple varying factors. The first was that the title was actually announced and planned to be developed on the PlayStation 3, but not too far into their plans they realized that the development for a much more powerful console was quite expensive and would take a lot more time. The other factor was simply that there was an alternative console that represented a broader audience, which was the Nintendo Wii. The Nintendo Wii was extremely popular with families at the time, as Nintendo products usually are. There never was any actual confirmed answer for the Wii debut, but it's safely assumed that due to the Wii's popularity at the time, the development costs being lower on that console, Wii's online capability, and Capcom generally trying out a lot of new things within the game and outside of it, they saw it as an opportunity to expand the game's audience, especially in the West, where Monster Hunter wasn't as popular compared to Japan's audience. I was one of the lucky few to have picked up Monster Hunter Freedom for the PSP, but wouldn't truly be hooked until I played Monster Hunter Freedom 2. The Wii also had voice chat capability, which was kind of a minimum standard in the West at the time for online gaming. Though I don't actually recall anybody using it, another smaller idea of the Wii's release was that the motion capability was thought to enhance the game's experience. Kind of did, kind of didn't. You could probably argue this point with any game on the Wii. Regardless of that, Monster Hunter Tri sold extremely well on the Wii due to many families owning the console. It was many's first entry into the series because of that. And Capcom's decision to continue with Nintendo onto the 3DS is truly what built the game's Western audience. It would be another 8 years until we saw a proper return of modern consoles with the release of Monster Hunter World, which would go on to be Capcom's greatest selling game of all time. I personally believe that Monster Hunter Tri's console release was what lended success to the series in general. Groundwork was laid out with this game, with all of its innovations into the series, which is also what Monster Hunter World would be known for years later. This is the game that solidified Monster Hunter World's success in my eyes, and it's one of the many reasons why I have such an appreciation for the game. Now let's talk about the individual start with the game. Not the actual gameplay start, but something I believe lended to the sales of the game. The cover art for the title. This has got to be one of the greatest cover arts for Monster Hunter, and even just gaming as a whole. This cover art just screams, this is what Monster Hunter is all about. Don't believe me? Look at how much detail has been put in. We have what would be our hunter, clad in man-made armor wielding a giant sword, which looks to be comprised of some type of bone material and fur, which we can only assume is from previous hunts. But he is on his guard, as there seems to be some dinosaur-looking creatures in the background. But no, that's not it. Our hunter isn't looking at the dinosaur. In fact, the dinosaurs are looking elsewhere. Everyone pointed in the same direction. They're all taken aback as water is flying about everywhere, accompanied by some giant leviathan emerging from the depths. This artwork is just so alive. It really does give you the understanding that this is just a snapshot of an epic moment unfolding. Now, just for some fun comparison to amp up why this art is so great even further, take a look at its successor's artwork. Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate's art is not bad at all. If anything, I really like this art. It's simple and gets the point across very well. We have our hunter, which is fully decked out in some cool looking blue armor and a blue gray sword, which both appear to be made of parts from the monster flying in the background. It also tells you what Monster Hunter is about and that this could be you. You also have a couple of smaller companions by your side. This art is effective because I know that if I were a young kid in a game store, I would definitely ask my parents if they would buy it for me. Cool looking monster, cool armor and sword, say nothing more. I'm sold. The largest difference between these artworks is that for Monster Hunter Tri, our hunter and monsters are in the middle of a would-be battle, whereas for 3U it's more tailored. Our hunter is actually posing for the camera. They're both very cool artworks and I have a different appreciation for both, but I feel that Tri's art is just downright epic for gaming due to capturing a would-be moment in the action of the game. Warning, spoilers ahead. We are getting into the story of the game. It doesn't have that great or big of a story, but if you still care about that, I suggest clicking off the video because the rest of the video is mostly about this. With that out of the way, the story starts off very simple but fantastic in my eyes. Moga Village is a small but lively fishing village set right next to the first main area of the game, which is all surrounded by a large ocean. This area is named D Island. Some say that the D stands for deserted, but it actually stands for destiny. If you want it to be more epic, that is. This area is also referred to as the Moga Woods as it is set right next to the village, but we'll get more into that in a bit. D Island and Moga Village's peace is interrupted right from the start of the game by an unexplained earthquake. You, an inexperienced hunter, are sent by the guild to investigate these tremors. Following the reconstruction of a destroyed base camp in the Moga Woods by the villagers and the hunter, the guild demonstrates its assurance by assigning quests to the hunter. You'll be sent through a series of tutorials and non-quest objectives to set your hunter and ultimately you up for success in the world of Monster Hunter. Now through this, you may find yourself wondering what weapon you might like to use. The game has an absolutely massive amount of 7 weapons. 7. You heard me right. That's right, this game cut nearly half of the weapons of previous iterations of the series. There is no definitive reason behind this, but this is thought to be due to the Wii's controllers making some weapons awkward, or the more believable reason of time restraint. I'm inclined to think it's the latter, running out of time for release, which we all know is a great sin in the video game landscape these days. But this was 10 years ago. Very happy to say, however, that this game doesn't feel bad because of this. The weapons we have offer enough variety between them, even with such a small roster. At the start of the game, we have sword and shield, greatsword, hammer, lance, and the bowgun. And the bowgun in this game can have its parts customized, leading to 3 different weight categories, being light, medium, and heavy bowguns. Different parts have different weight values and add to a total weight, which determines the bowgun's overall weight class. Some may say that this game actually offers 9 weapons instead of 7 for this reason. The other 2 weapons in the game are the switch axe and the longsword. These 2 weapons aren't available to the hunter at the beginning of the game and are actually unlocked with some minor single-player progression. While this seems to be an annoyance for many players, I'm a big fan of this approach. This forced players to try weapons that were akin to the first Monster Hunter game to get you a start in understanding how Monster Hunter plays, especially for the new audience this game was designed to reach. This gives you more basic weapons to understand before proving yourself to be capable of wielding more advanced weapons. Well, the longsword isn't really hard to learn, especially in this game, but it is a powerhouse, and I'm a fan of unlocking stronger options only as you prove yourself. But the star of this game is the newly introduced Switch Axe. This is the first weapon in the series to have two different weapon playstyles in one. Combining a long axe and a large sword, similar in appearance to the great sword, but it actually plays nothing like it. The main game behind this weapon is utilizing the more mobile but less damaging axe mode to fill the weapon gauge, and then switching to the less mobile but more damaging sword mode when you want to burn this meter up. The game plan is simple enough, but the addition of meter management always adds complexity to a weapon. Overall, a small roster of weapons, but enough variety with vastly different playstyles to solidify the gameplay. While replaying the game over the last few weeks, I never once felt like it was lacking content. Rather that what we had was limited indeed, but very polished, especially since every weapon included got new moves adding a little more to your preferred playstyle. As you're getting your bearings on the game through the tutorials, you gain access to Moga Woods. You can actually decide to head out into the woods at any time with the press of a button. Different large monsters appear at different times depending on a forecast revolving around a newly introduced day-night cycle given to you by the Chief's son. Hunting and gathering done in the Moga Woods accrue resource points. Resource points are a crucial and valuable currency that you can use for many things in this game, such as the farm, eating at the canteen, or one of my favorite systems, trading. The Argosy Captain is a sea trader that travels the world for riches and rarities, which is also unlocked with a bit of game progression. He only comes around every few days or so with the day-night cycle. This gives you time to prepare by grabbing some resources for his arrival based on days and nights that pass as you complete quests, hunt in the Moga Woods, or sleep. Also, whenever he is in town, there are sales going on at the shop. This day-night cycle is also a great thing about this game. It makes you think about what you want to prioritize depending on the Argosy Captain or the Moga Woods forecast. Especially if you want resource points and there's a monster appearing that you want parts from for a win-win situation. It feels very good as it gives you a reason to plan your next few hunts and prioritize what's important to you. Such a great gameplay cycle. I can't tell you how much I love this. The farm in this game was reworked to have more of an auto material gathering system similar to a recent title. Spending the same resource points from before can determine how long your feline companions will work for you. After said tutorials, you make your way through a few early game objectives and can also take on requests from the villagers. This is the base setup of the game, but let's actually start with the first few quests you'll take on. Oh hey, gathering quest. Kind of? You need to kill these fish monsters to gather guts. I guess you're still gathering, but you are indeed hunting. Oh. Right. We have to swim underwater to complete this quest. This was the moment of truth for me. Over all the split opinions of today's Monster Hunter fanbase, this was something I was wondering the most about. Was the water combat really that bad? Is it just nostalgia that makes me want it to make a comeback? It's been 10 years since I last took a dive in Monster Hunter 3. Well, here we go. Yeah, this isn't bad. This is awesome. But before I jump the gun on how I feel about it, I'm gonna get back to this again later in the video when I have more actual water hunts under my belt. Thank you, Epioth, for your Oregon contribution. Okay, where's the rest of the monsters? Guess they're over in the next water area. Alright, let's get over here and... Why is there a cutscene playing? Oh, shit! This setup for the game is really great. While the story of Monster Hunter Tri is quite simple, the way these monsters are set up really gives it so much more meaning to the player. This quest is a gathering quest and is designed to catch you off guard and pin you against the Laggy crews, which you are clearly no match for. This is the poster monster of the game. It sets up Laggy crews as this big bad strong enemy you'll have to face off against eventually, but for now you are weak, and you need to work your way up the monster hierarchy to be on the Laggy crews level. Now admittedly, this is basically how every Monster Hunter game works. But I think it's very well done in this game due to Lagia Crew's sudden appearance and an easy quest, making it very challenging in turn and forcing you to think outside of the box as to how to get the quest items you need. The monsters in this game have to be one of the best parts of Monster Hunter Tri. Truth be told, like the weapons of older entries, this game had a lot of cuts. And I mean a lot of cuts. So many in fact that we only have 3 returning monsters being Rathalos, Rathian, and Diablos. But this is where this game actually shines. The roster is limited to just 15 large monsters, with just a few more being online exclusive, but still only bumping the roster up to 18 from there. It's absolutely absurd how small this roster is, but again, like the weapon cuts in this game, it doesn't feel like we're missing a ton of content. That's because right from the start of the game, you are facing all brand new monsters with widely unique movesets and design. You decide it's time to get back on the horse by facing the secret cover art monster of the game. The first main monster of the game you face is the Great Jaggy, the pack leader of the Jaggy you faced up until this point. This monster has a very simple but refreshing moveset compared to its raptor counterparts from older entries. Accompanied by a few Jaggies at a time, the Great Jaggy can actually summon more Jaggy to the fight with this awesome and very realistic herd call. This is only one example of the awesome audio design, as this monster comes with a certified Hood Classic theme song. The music of this game is top notch to my ears and is kind of underrated. After defeating a couple Great Jaggy in 2 different areas, you're told by a young child that they spotted a fairy in the woods. The hunter embarks on a search for said fairy in the form of an urgent quest. Upon finding said fairy, it is revealed that it's actually a young Shakalaka who got lost in the wilderness surrounding Moga. Although, for some reason, this Shakalaka also talks about displacing Hit. Cha-Cha is a unique companion available exclusively in Monster Hunter 3. Unlike the feline warrior, Cha-Cha is known for being extremely adventurous and easily excited. He will accompany the hunter both within the town and out in the field. Additionally, Cha-Cha is the first partner to have a health bar displayed beneath his name. Cha-Cha has his own agenda of finding a lost mask and teams up with you out of gratitude for saving him and to prove himself as a warrior. Throughout your journey to your inevitable showdown with the Lagia Crews, you and your new partner face all sorts of brand new monsters. We have Kurapeko, a tropical bird wyvern that also thinks Great Jaggy's herd call is awesome, and it can replicate the noise and other monsters' calls with great accuracy. So much accuracy, it fools Jaggy into thinking it's their leader's call. It'll spit up some kind of fluid on you that actually lowers your fire resistance. Then it can create small explosions by slamming these flint body parts on its wings together. We have Gobel, an extraordinary monster that combines characteristics of an angler, stingray, and pufferfish. Its body is adorned with purple scales, while a vibrant, bioluminescent lure hangs from its forehead. Its enormous mouth is filled with impressively sharp teeth. The creature's back showcases retractable spines, and its tail is tipped with quills that have the ability to induce paralysis upon contact. Very well-known fan favorite, Barioth, a quadrupedal saber-toothed flying wyvern with an extremely aggressive behavior, who easily contends for coolest and edgiest monster, although he does make an appearance much later in the game. Not having Nagakuga return was a bummer, but without him we were able to get a super awesome monster capable of a few of the Naga's attacks with its own unique attacks mixed in. Rathian, one of the few returning staple monsters of the series, has made a comeback and is better than ever. Still keeping its normal moveset of poisonous tail swipes and charges, which it never stops doing. Ugh! This queen is now able to take flight, staying low to the ground for an airborne moveset, which it can do a multitude of attacks from. The same goes for its male counterpart Rathalos, who focuses more on fireball attacks and will stay in the air for much longer. These two have never felt better to fight in classic Monster Hunter. These are just a few examples of the monsters of Monster Hunter Tri. After fighting various monsters working your way up through the hunter ranks, the Lagia Crews is resurfaced and is causing havoc in Moga's waters. Talking with the village chief, he explains some details about the Lagia Crews and deems you an even match now for him. There's now an official quest to face off with it, but it's a Repel Quest. Something I took notice of was the setup here as well. Way back when you were a fledgling hunter doing some simple gathering quests, the Lagia Crews sent you reeling from its newly claimed waters, taking victory that day but not ultimately defeating you due to a strategic retreat on your part. There was nothing for you to do but to get stronger for your inevitable showdown. But this quest isn't it. This quest sends you to repel the Lagia Crews and now gives you the chance to send the Lagia reeling, who's now encroached upon your land, letting you claim victory in what is now a long 1-to-1 battle. The Lagia makes its retreat with its cut tail between its legs. Shortly after, the final showdown is now upon you. The Lagia has returned and will not back down, but neither will you. This fight determines the fate of Moga Village and D Island, a battle of land and sea. A fight so steeped in anticipation you can't help but cheer your heart out if you finally defeat this beast. The D Island theme song that plays has been heard multiple times so far in your previous hunts, but is never rung louder than in this fight. It is an adrenaline-boosting, hair-raising, time-to-sit-forward, epic theme song, and personally, I feel this song is Laggy Crew's theme song. Also, the fanbase notes that Laggy Crews doesn't have its own dedicated theme, but ever since I played this game, I always attributed this song to Laggy Crews, since he's the face of Monster Hunter 3 and all of your showdowns are in the Moga Woods. His unexpected appearance in the beginning of this game was the debut of this song as well. I know I joked earlier about the D and D Island standing for destiny, but as a teenager it actually had meaning to me. Your destiny is set out right in front of you from the moment you look at the game cover for the first time. The game's official cover art perfectly shows you what you're in for with this game. Fights between land and sea and even the skies. And for returning players picking this game up for the first time, I can't tell you how excited I was to fight this blue-clad sea monster was the perfect counterpart to our previous flagship monster, Rathalos. If Rathalos was king of the skies, then surely Laggy Crews was lord of the seas. I don't feel like I'm reading into it too much either. The rarest material you can obtain from Laggy Crews is the Laggius Sapphire, the opposite of a Rathalos Ruby. Laggy Crews, the sapphire of this game series, truly shines among the rest. Having defeated the Laggy Crews, you were finally able to rest. That rest is short-lived as the village endures yet another quake. Through a little more game progression, Cha-Cha briefly leaves us and learns of a magnificently massive leviathan in the waters nearby. There is no name for the creature, but after a little more intel gathering and some communication with the guild names the creature Ceatus. The true final battle of the game is one to be remembered for many different reasons. Ceatus is making its way through some ancient tunnels leading to an ancient city all completely submerged in water. This creature will inevitably destroy Moga Village and the guild has ordered an evacuation. The village is ready to comply for the safety of their families and kids, but you stand your ground as this was your new home after all of your trials and tribulations. The village fully places their faith in you. The single hunter that arrived unprepared for their hunts, now standing here today, is ready to end this struggle. This fight is a complete underwater battle. The first half sees you swim after the monster, hacking and slashing where you can to whittle it down. This fight is admittedly a little awkward, but I'd argue that every fight in Monster Hunter that follows this grand chase kind of hunt is difficult. Keeping up is easy enough, but this monster is so absolutely massive it's hard to stay in the spot you want for a period of time due to its sudden movements. The other reason this fight stands out is the setting. The music that plays here is nothing but epic and gives you the sense that you're facing a beast so ancient and powerful you're left in nothing but awe. Another awesome and underrated boss fight in the series. Finishing your battle with the Ceatus by repelling it, you have shown the creature your strength. The strength you have gathered this entire game, from being a fledgling hunter, going to an experienced hunter, capable of defeating the Laggy Crews, and every other monster in your path. Fully supported by the village, you return for one final cutscene. Just like how you arrived in the village for the first time, you again are welcomed with open arms. You are their hero, and they yours. For helping you get started on your journey as a hunter. Can't think of a better way for this journey to end. And end it does. Celebration of the saved Moga Village. With everything with the offline said and done, besides extra quests that you unlock after that final battle and the ability to actually slay the Ceatus, it's time to make a journey to Lochlac. Online for Monster Hunter Tri is truly one of my favorite gaming experiences. While you're departing a small fishing village and heading to a grand city, this game is still based on the seas. From Moga Village to the Argosy Captain to the combat and even the online for the game. Your first visit online shows you boats flying through a different kind of sea, a sand sea. Located on the outskirts of the Great Desert, Lochlac City stands as the vibrant hub for hunters in Monster Hunter 3. According to the folklore of the game, the city's central focal point is a colossal spire-like sculpture crafted from the tusk of the fearsome elder dragon Genmo Ren. Genmo Ren is one of the few online exclusive fights in Monster Hunter Tri, alongside Deviljho and Elatreon. All three of these monsters are the endgame for Monster Hunter Tri, and while I want to talk about them, I'll have to save them for another time as they deserve their own spotlights. I already have 30 hours put in, and I'm just still not there yet, after only getting online just a couple weeks ago after the servers being down for 10 years. Wait, what? How did I get online? Well, thanks to the hard work of the independent dev team of Cepelani, Zespyro, and Unusual Z, there's a public beta finally live for the online portion of the game. The online portion of this game has been almost entirely inaccessible for those 10 years since the shutdown. The online is a large part of what made me into the person I am today. My memories from 10 years ago playing this game online are truly special to me. Being able to type in open chat and send direct messages to many hunters in the city gates is just the start of the community this game housed way back then. I can't tell you how many friends I made just from doing 1 or 2 hunts together. Everyone was genuinely very friendly and we shared lots of laughs together. Not everybody had a keyboard, but you were still able to have very slow conversations with one another using the Wii's on-screen keyboard. And with the online being back up today, I'm so proud to say that within just 10 minutes of getting online, I had already made some friends. We already shared some small laughs, had some fun conversations, and had some great hunts. The point I'm getting at here though was that this game was so small in comparison to other Monster Hunter titles, but it's great because of this. Everybody I encountered was very friendly due to how much fun this game was and how much we all loved it. And that was 10 years ago. And only getting online a few days ago, it was the exact same experience, not just nostalgia. This game has a way of connecting you with other players. Unlike Monster Hunter World with the 16-player lobbies, we only had 4-player lobbies in Monster Hunter Tri. It kind of forced you to work with each other, and while bigger is better, honestly, for online connectivity, somehow a smaller lobby still is able to do a better job, I think. Everybody's in the guild actually interacting with each other, whereas everybody in Monster Hunter World might be in Astera or Celiana doing their own thing and not actually in the guild. Locklack took up so much of my teenage years, and when I heard I was finally able to get back online, I was so overcome with emotions of joy, but also sadness. Sadness for the friends I made, who I never got to say a proper goodbye to. And so I want to dedicate this part to 2 very important friends I never got to see again. I was the friend who logged out and didn't come back online one day, then the server shut down. So Cobra and Mimi, it's Indra speaking. You guys made some hard times in my life so much better. The nights we spent typing away at our keyboards just chatting all night instead of actually playing are my fondest gaming memories. And well, if you guys are watching this sometime, somewhere, I miss you guys, and I hope you've taken care of yourselves. Heading into the ending of this retrospective, I have to say this game was such a breath of fresh air then and even now. An entirely new take on the series with all kinds of innovations in gameplay and monsters and weapons and systems. While Monster Hunter Tri was a new step forward, it did have its shortcomings with cut content and some awkward controls. It completely made up for it with doubling down on the quality of the monsters and weapons that we do have. I want to say it's hard to recommend this game to new players who want to jump in earlier in the series, because the previous titles have so much content and are also great games. But that would be wrong. You need to experience this game if you haven't already, whether you're a longtime fan or a new player. It's admittedly smaller than all the other titles, but it's so digestible because of this. It's the perfect game to explore Monster Hunter on a beginner and friendly level. A very rewarding gameplay cycle that offers the player the freedom to choose how they spend their time with the day-night cycle and the auto resource gathering systems that only come to fruition with the passing of time by doing quests and hunting in the Moga Woods. Everything in this game is just a huge W, and I freaking love this game, man. But before we end, the water combat section. Having gone through the game again, I can wholeheartedly say the water combat that was introduced into the series should make a return. Water combat feels limited in movement in this game, but every time I made a narrow dodge in the water, it gave me that feeling Monster Hunter used to give me. Understanding when to dodge and heal and sharpen is what the game is built on. Understanding monsters' patterns is no different than fighting bosses in modern gaming. And for those who say the controls were clunky, we used to play Monster Hunter on the PSP. Everybody who did that subconsciously developed the claw technique with our left index finger to control the camera and move at the same time. Is that an excuse for Monster Hunter Tri's somewhat clunky water combat? No, it isn't. But old Monster Hunter was clunky in general. This is over 10 years ago for these games though. With the new Monster Hunter we have today and the new innovations into gaming, I think they should definitely explore the waters again. Not by bringing it back from Tri, but by making something new, just as Monster Hunter World did for the series. Somehow this game had so much innovation into the series while being very limited at the same time. Only 15 large monsters offline and just about half of the weapons it used to have. Doesn't seem like it should have done well, but it did. Did well not because of content, but because of the quality and love that was put into what they could fit in before release. They knew beforehand what they couldn't fit in time, so they cut a lot of things instead of giving us rushed weapons and monsters. The world's design and monsters have so much detail that you don't feel like you're missing out on content that would have appeared if the developers had more time. and of course this was completely addressed with the release of Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, but this was truly the vanilla experience of the game. The game stands alone and does nothing but satisfy you with a sense of progression, and it's progression that is so well done. I already know that with this retrospective, I haven't covered everything I've even wanted to talk about, but I truly could go on forever about this game. Despite all of the love I've expressed for this game, the definitive experience is Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. Many would argue that you should just play its successor instead, but I'd rather argue this game is what you should play. It gives you the vanilla Monster Hunter 3 experience without the extra content from 3 Ultimate, so you can better understand this game and the groundwork for Capcom's ambition of expanding the game as a whole. While this game isn't where my heart comes from for Monster Hunter, it's definitely where it remains. And so to all of you watching, I ask you to give Monster Hunter a try. Thank you all so much for watching. Your support has been so tremendous, and I wouldn't have grown to where I am today without you. Seriously, I had no subs a few months ago. I'm currently nearing the 1,000 subscriber mark, and I humbly ask you to consider subscribing if you enjoyed the video or would like more Monster Hunter content. A special thank you needs to go out again to Sepalani, Zaspyro, and Unusual Z. You guys gave me back an experience I thought I could never have again. I'm going to post a link to their Discord server for the beta down below in the description if you want in on this wonderful experience. You guys really should hop in. This game gave me such nostalgia for years, and having it back again and it giving me the same feeling from 10 years ago truly speaks about how amazing it was. Not just for myself, but for many Monster Hunter Tribe fans. This game was not nostalgia. This is one of the greatest Monster Hunter games of all time. Regardless of my opinion on this game in particular, please let me know your awesome experiences with the Monster Hunter series down below. Have you played Monster Hunter Tri? What was your first Monster Hunter? Are you going to support these devs and give this game a try or what? Again, thank you guys and gals so much. Without too much more to say, this has been Terroriza, and I'll catch y'all soon. Peace!